Just trying to line everything up here. Seems like I need to be over this way a bit. Alright, that's a little better. Ah, it's not the one I grabbed. Alright, and then this can go over here, a smidgen. Okay. Check the tuning real quick. Okay, I was gonna try, like, on my technique, I was trying to mute a little bit to get, so just at my warm up, I'll do this and then I'll go back to what I was doing yesterday with the Spanish kind of thing, which I'm making less Spanishy, which you might think is good or bad or whatever, but that's not the point. If you're at the point is I'm just kind of trying to take a thing and then play with it. So you're ruining it. Okay, maybe I'm ruining it, but that's like you have to experiment with. You have to tinker with it. So I'm thinking then, like as I do my picking, I want to lightly hit the string and keep my rhythm, which is kind of hard to do because you kind of want to press down. And I could do that with double stop strings. And that's that gives me like a percussion thing that I kind of want to work in there, which usually you would think you don't do as much on an acoustic in like a show setting because you don't get the microphone amp. But now you've got these in the guitar mics, so that could be cool to do. And if you just record like this, then those effects I think could become more kind of neat and something that possibly can't be mimicked as easily by things like AI, right? Which I think might be something that happens going forward. It's like, well, how can I do something that's not so melodic that it could just be generated by AI? We have to somehow stay relevant. It ain't fair. It ain't fair. But that's how it is, man. You know? So anyway, so I'm gonna try to, so if I was like strumming, I want to lightly tap it. And then if I bar it, see, I'm not really barring anything. I'm just kind of trying to keep the rhythm, but it's hard for me to keep the rhythm without actually holding down the strings, I've noticed. Because what I tend to want to do is this, with like one beat. But no, I kind of want to get that chunky, like going back and forth on the string, but I lose the rhythm if I don't actually hold down the string, which is weird because you would think it wouldn't matter if I hold down the string to get like this. See, that kind of, you think I should be able to do that without holding down the string at all, but they kind of move. It's kind of like strumming where you're like missing a strum and then you kind of miss it, but you have the same tempo. But this time I'm hitting it with the strum, but I'm using the left hand to do the mute. Obviously, I'm not totally practiced on this technique yet. That sounds terrible. Yeah, well, it has, but it has potential, I feel like, to be something. So I'm messing with that. Let me open up my joke for the day. I don't think I'm still not on my saga of the right wing the trolling saga, because I don't know, just not feeling it, you know. So I think I think I had something else here. Let me open up my thing here. What was I doing? I should have been prepared. What is this? Slacking. Okay, I didn't have my joke open. That's okay. I will open it now. I think this is just, so I'll do that, and then I'll go back maybe to like this groove. But I might maybe try to make it more Spanishy instead of the greaser thing last night with the Stray Cats. That was starting making me feel a little dark. I was a little wanting to go hang out in an alley or something, and that's not good. So I go back to the try to make it more Spanishy. Rather than the Stray Cats walking down an alley in a stray cat like a cat, and then I went, okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do it like, but maybe try to make it more bluesy, kind of somehow. And then I'll analyze the two ways. I'm kind of try to view it so I can practice the two ways, and then analyze my counting from the nodal points of each of the chords from the perspective of the collection notes around the key of C and the collection of notes around the what was the other collection of notes I was working with? Because this is E minor, which would be my head's going dead. The G, collection notes around a key of G, which is an E minor. Okay, that's what I'll do. So let me see if I can do the joke first, though. So this is just some stupid joke. I can't even remember what it was, but I don't think it's particularly political. It's kind of political, because it's got like movie stuff in it, and all the movies are political because Hollywood's a woke trash heap of its husk of its former self. All right, so let's see. That's okay. All right. I, like many others, have been deeply spiritually annoyed with the Superman movies stopping the saying of the iconic line of truth, justice, and the American way. I know people are like, what's the big deal? It's just a comic book. You don't need to say this truth, justice, and the American way. But it's like, dude, I mean, you're kind of false advertising if you have a Superman movie that doesn't say truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, look, this is how the Superman movies go. The old Superman movies were basically just a 90-minute runway for the one feel-good line. That's the formula, okay? You set up the whole thing. You set up a supervillain being a complete jerk, and that represents all the bad people in the world, all the you know, the dictators and the strongmen and the bullies and whatnot, and they're just a jerk the whole movie. And then you sit patiently while the villain spends the entire movie trying to socialize, neuter, and humiliate the world. That's what you do. And then, bam, Superman shows up, straightens his cap, and ends the discussion while saying, with the authority of being able to say, because of the inalienable rights that have been outlined in the Constitution, which Superman is representing, truth, justice, and the American way. That's the whole set. That's the whole, like, if you do a Superman movie and you don't do it that way, then you are basically lying. You are a manipulator, deconstructivist liar. And then you got it. Then it's like punch, credits, patriotic, swelling music. That's the movie. That's the contract. That's why you buy the ticket. When you buy the ticket, if you don't get that, it's called what we call this in marketing school. We call that a bait and switch. If that's not the layout, you have a bait and switch situation. It's not even legal, man. It's not even legal. That's how it's supposed to work. Now the new Supergirl movie doesn't really do that either. Okay, I know she's not Superman, but still she's got like the super thing, you know? But after, at least after taking a leak on the Superman's legacy, they at least threw us a bone. They at least threw us a bone this time for once in my entire lifetime of since I was 5. They threw us a bone. They gave us 2/3 of the classic line, you know? They gave us 2/3. So 2/3, that's something. You know, that's technically more than half. So I guess we should be happy, right? They're like, dude, what do you want? What do you want from us? We gave you 2/3 of the line. Come see our movie. Give us I know it's inflated. I know inflation happened and we're charging more. But, you know, we gave you 2/3 of the line. What do you want? And it's like, now the new line is truth, justice, and whatever. Truth, justice, and whatever. Whatever? You know, that's not a heroic motto. That's how you end an argument when you're tired, for crying out loud. The truth, justice, and I don't know, man. HR's watching, so I guess I can't complete the line. So sure, we got 2/3 of it, which is great compared to what they usually do to superheroes these days, which I don't even want to talk about. I don't even think you should be able to put it on the screen what they're doing to superheroes these days. But so I mean, I guess that's a step up, but it just doesn't feel the same without that last bit, you know? I don't know what it is. I kind of feel like even though we got 2/3 of it, it just doesn't seem right without that last bit. I mean, honestly, like I don't know. I'd almost rather they only kept the last bit, even though it's only 1/3 of the line. You know, they kept 2/3, and they're like, you should be happy. We kept 2/3, but I would be more happy, like if you kept the 1/3, but it was the last bit, you know, and then you drop the first 2/3 bit. If you have to drop something, I feel like if we can compromise, it should go the other way. So it should be like just Superman, like mid-punch, sending some super villain commie into another dimension, some tyrant screaming, "The American way," right? I feel like you could get away with that, and you could still trim like 2/3 of it, and that would still be okay. Boom, pow, freedom noises, just like the comic book thing. And now that would be cinema. You'd be back to. So anyway, that's my analysis. I don't think they do it right. I don't even think they're honest. I think it's like, I don't even think these people are gaslighters, man. Gaslighters, I'll tell you. Everything's gaslight. The whole Hollywood is. I wrote a song about it. It's I haven't heard it yet. I just put it in the CD. This is my first impression.
I've been deeply spiritually annoyed, like something sacred got destroyed. They took a line that used to land, like thunder shaking movie land. Cause let's be honest, you and me, those old school films with destiny, those movies were a 90-minute climb, just waiting on their perfect line. You sit there while the bad guy tries to lecture shame and reorganize, and bam, he drops from the sky, straight as a K, looks him in the eye. Truth, justice, and the American way. Punch, credits, flag, swell, and play.
Suno didn't even say the line. Suno didn't even. That's how. Where's. He didn't say American. Okay, wait. Maybe it's still. Like, did Suno say Bam Pow the American way, or did it say Bam Pow? I mean, the algorithms are against us, man. How we made the we are the ones that make the. How is it they hate the Oh god, it's just crazy, dude. Whatever. Okay, I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little annoyed right now. That's okay. All right. All right. Can't say the American way. All right, it's crying out loud. The heck is Hollywood is in America. It's in Why do you That's ridiculous, man. Okay. All right. I'm not going to dwell on that right now. I'm not going to waste my time dwelling on that right now, okay? I've got better things to do. But still, like what is wrong with these people? Like why are they so lame? Okay. All right. That's okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and then we're going to do So I was analyzing this. I usually play this progression once again in A minor down here. So A, G, F major. It would be A minor, G major, F major, and then they throw in an E sharp. I mean an E major instead of what you would think an E minor. If you're thinking of yourself an A minor. If I do that same progression up here, then I'm playing in. You could think of it as playing an E Phrygian if you want to look at the same collection of notes, or you can more like transpose the whole thing and think of it in E Aeolian. So now again the 6 is the root, which is the Aeolian node, and then it would be like a little bit heavier because it got that low E, which is more stray catty, I guess. But I'm not gonna do stray cats today because that was making me feel. You gotta get the strum in there to make it more Spanishy. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I went over this progression. The first one over here is in A minor or Phrygian. Now again, I'd like to be able to name it by nodal chord because I want to see it as the Phrygian shape or the minor shape depending on how I'm visualizing the chords. And then when I go back to the next one back, if I look at the collection of notes around the key of C, which has position number 1 here, right? Position, what I call position number 1 is here on fret 5, right? So, but I'm playing around, I'm thinking of the 3 as the tonic, which is Phrygian. You can look at the note names at the top of the screen. So I would be here, but then I'm gonna. So if I want to make it the same progression, it would be an A. It would be an A minor. It would be a minor right there, but I'm gonna make it a major. It would be a D minor, but I'm gonna make it a D major, meaning it's gonna. I'm converting what would normally be a minor chord, which I would call like just a triad for a Dorian triad. It's a Dorian triad with what I would call an Ionian shape, right? Because I think that naming again, I'm getting into my naming conventions again. But see how much nicer that is? Because I could tell you, look, I'm still seeing the Dorian as the nodal point in this collection of notes, but I'm putting an Ionian shape on it. And so why would I want to? Because that tells you information. Because now you know what collection I'm have my mindset in, and it tells you that the shape of the chord. And you're gonna, well, why would you do that shape? And then it's like, well, when I go back to this one, I'm looking at the Ionian nodal point, which has a major shape. So you might be thinking, oh, well, that makes sense because now what you're doing is symmetry. You want this chord, even though it's outside the key, to look symmetrical to this chord, which also has an Ionian shape, as opposed to being symmetrical to this chord, which has a minor shape, or a Phrygian shape, if you want to call it that, or minor, right? So that's why I think it would be nicer to say, look, this is a Phrygian shape chord and not an Aeolian shape chord if I'm in this collection of notes. This is a Dorian nodal chord, but it has an Ionian shape, meaning a major shape on a Dorian root. And this is an Ionian chord because it's just a normal triad from the perspective of an Ionian, which is a major. Whereas over here, if I look at the same progression, but I'm visualizing it from this collection of notes, I would call this one, it's an Aeolian chord now, because it's not a Phrygian, the root is Aeolian. And then when I bring it back here, I feel like this should be now a Dorian. I'm looking at it in this collection of notes, which is around the key of G. Position 1 now is on here. I'll try to switch the bottom collection so you could see the note names and distances from the perspective of, this should be from the perspective, I'll change the perspective, oh wait, no, that's not it. Down here, from the perspective of the Mixolydian, I want it from the perspective of the Aeolian. I'll change the perspective on the screen to the top to the Aeolian. Okay, so now all the distances will be on the Aeolian. I should reshape the thing, but hopefully that works. Okay, so it's from the Aeolian, and so when I bring it back here, then now I'm on the 5, which is Mixolydian. So I would call it a Mixolydian chord. You can call it a major chord, but I think it's more specific to say, well, now it's the Mixolydian, and that's useful information because that means I can put the 7 down here, which is actually in the collection. So if I look at it this way, I'm more likely to kind of grab that 7 maybe that's in the collection. And that also means that over here, like when I go back to this one, I might actually want to call this more of I could call it an Ionian, but I could also call it a Mixolydian shape, which would emphasize in my mind that I might grab that 7, right, which is down here, right? I might want to grab that and make it like a Mixolydian, and I could do that even here. I could say, well, this is an Ionian shape. I think I messed up. This is an Ionian shape, but maybe I'm going to say, look, it's an Ionian node, but I'm going to think of it as a Mixolydian shape. Why? Because I might want to grab that one that's outside. So even the Ionian node, which is a major node, I might be like, well, look, I'm looking at it like it's an Ionian node right there, but I'm doing the bluesy thing to it, and I'm going to grab that 7. So I'm going to think of it as like a Mixolydian chord instead of the major chord. Okay, and then so I think that would be more specific, you know. I know no one cares. No one does it that way, dude. Well, you're just wasting your time. Look, if something is this is how Secret of My Success, Michael J. Fox. If something is correct, how could it be a waste of time? How could it be a waste of time? No. This is the right way to do it, and it is what it is. I hate to, I'm not just gonna, like, what do you want me to do? I mean, okay. So then this, so if you go to this one, you can call it a Lydian from this perspective, and it would be a Lydian chord, which is a major chord. And then if we go back to the last bit, is that where we were on? I think that's where we left off last time. So I was on like this one. So and now the tricky one. Why is that tricky? Because let's analyze it from this perspective first. If I go back to the last bit, then it would go on to the Phrygian, the nodal point, center point, and this collection of notes would be the Phrygian. So it would be a minor chord then, meaning these two and the open. But this is the one that we sharp this bit. We sharp the third, and we bring it up. Why would we sharp the third there? Because you would think that it's because I'm going to take that third and lead it back into the Aeolian, right there, as I go back, which would take me back to the start. Because it's a half step away from going home. But they don't typically do that. They just hang out in that tensiony area. As though that's the end point in the tension. Seems like. That's what it seems like to me, at least. So that's why it's a little. So if you think about it this way, then what you're going to do is then you're going to say, okay, well that's kind of like. So I would call this a Phrygian chord with, once again, like with either an Ionian shape or a Mixolydian shape, right? I might even like the Mixolydian shape because it still has that minor 7. So I might say, well, look, this is a Phrygian chord with a Mixolydian shape. And I'm going to emphasize the Mixolydian shape because I want to maybe grab that 7 down below. Right? It would be nice to be able to see how, in context, how much more information that gives. And just instead of just saying, like, I'm just saying. All right, so then if I was to analyze the distances from the root, this would be the root, and we're going up. What's the third of that? The third of that would be 3. Third away is scale degree, minus 1 would be modal half steps. So 2 I'm on 3 plus 2 would be 5. So the third of that would, of course, be nodal point number 5, which is the Mixolydian, and it has a distance away from a Phrygian node because Phrygian's a minor node. There's a distance of the first modal half step, which is the second scale degree, which is the first modal whole step, which is the second modal half step, which is the third scale degree, has a distance of 3 notes away, which I can count by saying there's 5 notes between the string, 5, 4, 3. So it's 3 back, and then I'm pushing that third scale degree up so that it would be 4 notes back. So what about the fifth? Well, 5 minus 1 is 4, so I'm going 4 modal half steps up from the nodal point number 3. 3 plus 4, 4 is 7. So that means that the fifth is nodal point 7, or the Locrian nodal point at the top of the box, the top of Ionian's house. I call this Ionian's house, right? It's in the attic of Ionian's house. That's where they stuffed Locrian because they try to ignore him, which is kind of cruel because Locrian's not that bad. But so they put him up there, and what's the distance? That's going to be 7 notes away. So but 7 would be the clockwise distance. I'm going counterclockwise, so it's 12 minus 7, or 5 notes between the strings. And we know there's 5 notes between the strings, therefore it's up there. and then this is the 7. So that's going to be a minor 7, which is the case from a Phrygian node. So from a Phrygian node, you've got a minor 7, which is 10 notes away. So 7 minus 1, 7 minus 1 is 6, right? So I could count up. 6 plus 3 is 9, minus 7 is 2. So I'm on the Dorian nodal point. Or I could just say, look, it's 7 is 6 modal half steps up, which is just 1 step backwards, meaning if I'm on 3 minus 1 is 2. Has 10 note away distance, which clockwise distance, 5 notes between the string, 5, 10. Boom. All right, so there's the shape. What if I go over here and analyze it this way? Try to do both of these. So then over here, if I brought this back, this is where it gets wonky. If I try to keep it in the tonic as Phrygian, and look at this collection of notes, I'm going to have to tweak it over here to make it like what I want it to do, right? I'm going to have to say, okay, if I go back to this one, it would be here. Normally, the shape would be here, but that don't really fit. And then it would be back here, and then, so this is the one that would normally sharp. So it kind of like has the same third, but then this one don't fit. That don't fit. So what am I going to do about that? So now I've got, so why is that happening? Well, because this is nodal point number 7, which is the Locrian. So what's the third of the Locrian? Well, it's still a minor third because it's kind of like a minor third chord. So if I want to tweak this thing, then it would be the third, the first modal half step, which is the second scale, the first modal whole step, which is the second scale degree, which is the third modal half step, has a distance of 3 notes away still. So then it would, 3 notes away from a minor. It's not a minor, but it's the Locrian, which has a minor third. 1, 5, 4, 3. So it's 3 notes away. So that makes sense, but I'm going to possibly shift that up to the major. So in that case, if I shift that up, I might say, look, I'm on the Locrian node, but I'm making a Mixolydian type shaped chord, right? So then I'm telling you where I am in my perception of the collection of notes, but I'm thinking Mixolydian chord on it, right? Because that it's like a major chord, but I'm thinking it still has the minor 7 in it, right? And then what about the 5th? That's where the problem is. Because the 5th, 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 modal half steps up from the Locrian, which you might as well bring it down to 0 because it goes around in a circle, is going to be 4 modal half steps up would be just the 4, which would be Lydian here. Now Lydian is a problem because the distance to get there in half steps is not 7. We know that the distance to get to the second modal whole step, which is the 4th modal half step, which is the 5th scale degree from the Locrian node or Locrian continent, from the attic in the back of Ionian's house, is not the traditional, as with every other distance from that distance would be 7 away. It's 6. And I'm going above it, so it's going to be 12 minus 6, which is also 6, because 12 minus 6 is 6. So it would be 5 between the strings, and then 6. So 6 in the negative or counterclockwise direction. All right, and then where's the 7 from a Locrian node? Well, a Locrian node has a 10 note away 7th as well. So that would be, again, what's the one right behind the Locrian? 7 minus 1 is 6, which would be nodal point number 6, and the distance to get there would be 5, 10. So it's a minor distance there if we want to add that bluesy bit. So then it's like, okay, well, what do I want to do with that? Because then I can still fudge this one up, and that's what you normally do, like in the progression. That's what we did before. But then I have this bit, so I could just like remove that. I could just say, look, I'm not even going to play the 5. I'm just going to like take that out and play, maybe I switch it to like a bluesy thing like this, and I add the 7. So if I did that, like I could go... So I kind of just drop the 5 and add the 7. But when I noodle around, I'm still going to noodle around kind of in this collection of notes, which means, funnily, the funny thing is that I'm either going to noodle around with this as the tonic, because I'm thinking of myself in Phrygian, which has a minor second, and that's kind of the normal, that's like the normal thing that you hear. trying to make it, I mean, I'm not like, you know, but, or you're going to be thinking of yourself as that as the tonic, because that's usually what you switch up on. Like if I was down here, if I did it down here, it'd be like, and then sometimes they switch to what the tonic is this node, right? Which is related Phrygian. But if I'm doing this way, the note, that same nodal point is this node. I'm ending on that B, which is Locrian. So it almost leads you to kind of noodle around in Locrian, which is weird. Why is it weird? Because it has the flat 5. But it kind of works the same because it still has that Spanishy, like what kind of sounds that, which is the minor second, which is really tensiony. One note away. But then it also has that really tension, or that really tritony, I guess, flat 5. Now you could fudge the 5 and make it a major 5. But it leads you to kind of, which is kind of interesting because the Locrian is actually more of the, like down here, you kind of sometimes get the feel like the Aeolian is like the good guy, if you want to play like a dual thing. Like Aeolian's like the good guy. If I play it down. It's kind of a dark good guy, but it's still like, kind of like, he sounds like good. And then you got like the bad guy, which is the Lydian, because it has that second, it has that tensiony second here. So. And then the good guy comes back up, which is Aeolian. Bad guy comes in. The good guy.